Network. And today's topic is framing our future. We have a remarkable capacity as creators to shape our experience and our perception. And what if we use that in a deliberate way, that ability to create a future of fulfillment and broadened potentials. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together and feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. So good to have you joining us this morning. Great to be with everyone else who's joining us. And let's look at framing our future. What does it mean? I attended a really cool summit over the weekend, an AI summit, all about how to use artificial intelligence to build our business, to make our lives easier, to be able to generate more content. And I don't know that more is necessarily better, right? So, it's more about quality, but if we can look at how we frame the future. This is a really great topic, I think, because when we talk about AI, there are a lot of really dire predictions that may or may not come to fruition about the perils of AI and how it may be our destruction. And I don't hear as much talk about the possibilities, although on this weekend summit, I did hear about how we can, let's say we're trying to get a message out in the world, we can use artificial intelligence to support us in that. We can use artificial intelligence to gain greater insights into things, to better communicate our information. We can essentially, as artificial intelligence evolves, we can, as individuals, find ways to use it to better our future and the future of humanity, to be solving problems that up until now we haven't been able to solve, where one person using artificial intelligence tools can actually create a business and a company that previously would have taken tremendous amounts of funding, tremendous amounts of other employees, facilities, all kinds of things that now we can essentially harness and access as an individual, because we can find ways to harness the power of AI to automate certain things for us, to make our lives a whole lot easier. And I highly recommend learning about AI and how to use AI tools, and to look at ways that it might enable you to do things that you couldn't otherwise do. So I'm not going to spend the morning talking just about AI, but I think when we think about our futures, we really do get to create the way that we view it, the way that we step into our future. And I called it framing our future. Are we going to frame our future as something that is dire and devastating, or are we going to frame it as something that is life enhancing? And there are so many scenarios where we get to the first words that came were monitor ourselves, but it's not just monitoring ourselves, it's directing ourselves. So I was also thinking of titling this morning something around design, and what does it look like to design our lives? What does it look like to take an active role in the unfoldment of our lives? What does it look like to be actively engaged in creating the quality of our lives as well as the opportunities of our lives? And in terms of creating quality of life, we do, and this is the thing that I think so many of us as humans struggle with on a fundamental level, is actually creating quality of life for ourselves. And quality of life beyond the bare, the necessities of survival, quality of life is dictated by our inner game. Because there are people who have incredible wealth who are miserable. There are people who barely have 2 pennies to rub together who are content, who are happy. And so what is it that makes this difference? It's our inner game, it's our inner perception, it's how we step into each moment. And the beauty of knowing that is that we can change that at any moment. So even if we've had a long-standing pattern, we can step out of it. And it may take stepping out of it again and again and again and again until we create a new pattern. But we can, it's interesting. I have had a number of conversations around this notion of habit. And a client saying, well, it's been a habit for so long like it's really hard. It's been a habit for so long. And it's hard for me to leave that behind. And when we look at the power of habit, part of it is that we get physically acclimated or physically habituated or addicted to a certain way of doing things, even emotionally, because when we're experiencing certain emotions, there's a chemical set that gets released in our body, and we get used to it. So that even, let's say, we've experienced lots and lots of drama in our lives and upheaval. There are chemicals that are really familiar in that when things are going well, we're part of us is trying to recreate those drama chemicals because they're really familiar and because we have a habituation to them. So it can take concerted and repeated effort to change a long-standing habit, for sure. And we do have the ability to do that. And part of harnessing that ability is utilizing the power of our emotions to catalyze the change, using the power of and it is energy, using the energy, the frequency of emotion to power the transformation, the intention, the thought. When we're creating that emotion, we're creating a new set of chemicals. We're creating a bunch of new signals. And if that's intense enough, it may make it so that it only takes once. A story just comes to mind. Years and years ago, I was working as an outside sales rep for an optical company, and I was not happy. I was really not happy. And at one point, I was so unhappy, I just declared, that's it. By January 1st, I am out of this job. Now, I want to use this as a cautionary tale. It probably would have been better to say, that's it. By January 1st, I'm going to have a new job that I love. But I said, I'm out of this job. And I forgot all about having been that miserable. But when I made that declaration, it was like, bam, that's it. I'm done. And come January 1st, I was out of that job. And I had been given an ultimatum that I couldn't accept. And so I was out of that job, but I didn't have another job lined up. But there was a lot of there were a lot of repercussions as a result of that. But the thing is that there was such power in that declaration, and I totally forgot about it. But given the intensity of the emotion and the, I guess, the full alignment around that in that moment, months later, that's the circumstance that I created. So it was like I would not have let myself leave that job, I don't think, unless I had had that extreme circumstance. And I was miserable in that job. So in the long run, it worked out great, but there was a lot of blowback for me in my life around it. So I'm using that story partly as a cautionary tale, but also to say that we do have power to shape our future, and we can harness it by really harnessing and directing the power of our emotion and our intention. And so what does that look like? Maybe it looks like finding something that we want to create for our future and practicing that passionately, like passionately practicing the experience of that emotion and of having that result, having that outcome in our lives. So, for instance, if it is having your dream job, you might not even know what your dream job is, but to imagine being in your dream job, doing your dream work, whatever it is, and feeling the fulfillment of it, feeling the excitement of it, feeling the reward of it, and practicing that, just delighting in going to work every day in your mind, in your body, in your being with this emotion, and see what happens. Because what happens is we're shifting our frequency, we're shifting our chemical set, we're shifting our energy field, and therefore different things are being attracted to that energy field because there's a shift. So, good morning, Sue. Welcome. So good to have you with us. Rosalind says, who's the CEO? Is that the higher self's will? That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I think maybe it's when there's an inner alignment or an alignment with our higher self that we just are able to craft our future with even greater power and effectiveness, or frame our future. But we can do that in any moment. I mean, when we worry, what are we doing? We're framing our future with negative emotion. We're taking the past, our concerns about, we're using the past to extrapolate certain ideas about what might happen in the future. We're taking that past and we're putting it squarely in front of us so that we live into the past. It's like trying to walk forward while looking backward. It's a recipe for trip and fall, right? And we really do frame the future. We create this whole scenario about how things are going to be, and then we believe it. And in believing it, we live into it and we reaffirm it. And so, what if we created more joyful, more positive experiences? So we have an anonymous Facebook user who chimed in here saying, execute a decision and then the physical body, despite emotions or thoughts of second guessing, to live into the future. So I want to tease that out a little bit, because you say execute a decision, and then the physical body, despite emotions or thoughts of second guessing, that's what allows us to live into the future. And I'm going to challenge that, because this gets into a conversation about power versus force kind of thing. we live in a culture that is very oriented toward force, domination, control. And so the way that we move into the future is discipline ourselves to just do it, override the physical body, override the emotions, and just charge on into the future. And I'm going to suggest that there might be a more effective way where, rather than this overriding, we seek for alignment. Seek for alignment, not because oftentimes our thinking about what we should do or how things should be is limited by our past, right? When we can align with life, when we can align with allowing the emotional energy that we generate in a conscious way, the vision that we consciously generate, by allowing that to invite us into the future, to call us into the future, there are possibilities that can arise that we never would have imagined, that are so much more in alignment with what we thought would be great. I don't know if any of you have ever, for instance, dated somebody who looked great on paper. You know, like great on paper. It looked like there was all this great alignment, and then bam, it was a disaster. That's kind of what I'm talking about. It's like our thinking mind, unless it's connected, when it's connected to the heart, when mind and heart are connected, that's awesome. But oftentimes what happens is we disconnect from our heart, from our emotions, from our body, from our other sources of intelligence, and we make this determination that looks really good on paper. And in fact, it turns out not to be. So this is where I like to talk about intention rather than goals, for example, because a goal is very fixed. So when you talk about executing a decision, it's like, bam, that's hard and fast, it's defined, it's bounded, and it kind of leaves no wiggle room. It's either black or white. It's kind of a binary. You either make the goal or you don't. So whereas an intention is, at least in my concept, is broader. An intention kind of allows adaptation and allows you to keep recommitting, to keep readjusting, to keep tweaking. So Mary Malley Staudinger, sorry if I brutalized your name, Mary. Question, I'm pretty much bedridden. As I lay there, I can visualize walking. I can feel myself walking. I see myself walking, living a happy life. All's fine and dandy until I try to get out of bed. Then the pain and discomfort takes over. Any suggestions how I can override the pain and stay in the higher vibration as when I'm laying still and visualizing? So Mary, it might just be that it takes longer. I really highly recommend the Joe Dispenza work and his books. He's written multiple books that you can actually get in audio. You Are the Placebo, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Becoming Supernatural. He was in bed for a year, I believe, with a broken back. They said he'd never walk again, and he healed himself. And so what you're doing, you are on the right track, feeling yourself walking, seeing yourself walking, living a happy life, feeling the emotions, So Mary says, I've been following Dr. Joe a few years now. Good for you. I'm delighted to hear that. And you're on the right track. And the thing is, focusing on living a happy life is super, super, super powerful, like experiencing that. And those chemicals that you're releasing as you experience that more and more and more are programming your body too. And I would also suggest that you maybe ask your body what it's trying to communicate. If it has, because one of the things that I've noticed in dealing with pain that comes and goes, or that doesn't come and go, is that, well, I'll just tell this story really quickly. I was walking, I twisted my ankle pretty badly. And I don't know if I broke something, I don't know what, but it was pretty bad pain. And what I did was I sat with it. I literally sat with it, feeling into the pain. And I'm not saying that this would work for you necessarily, Mary, but at one point it became excruciating. And then what I noticed is that a deep, deep, deep sorrow around my relationship with my father and his loss showed up. And there was this welling of emotion within me. And I allowed that emotion, I allowed it to move. And what happened was pretty miraculous. The pain actually went away and I was able to walk home. And it took me 45 minutes maybe sitting there with the pain and the experience of it, and being present to the emotion and the communication from my body and being. And oftentimes our physical bodies are reflecting a deeper emotional experience that we've blocked, that we've closed off. And so it's not just about thinking positively. It's not just about thinking beautiful thoughts, so to speak. But it's also allowing blocked energy to move, which is what healing is, at least in my book. And there's often emotional healing that needs to take place to release that dynamic. So perhaps you might cultivate a communication with your body to partner with it rather than trying to override it, to partner with it. One of the things I've done as I walk in the morning these days is, as I feel aches and pains, I ask my body if it can magic it, and those pains and aches go away, which is crazy. It's amazing. And it doesn't work in every instance. If there's something bigger going on that my body wants me to know about, those pains don't go away till I address them. So hopefully that will be helpful. But all of this is part of framing our future. Like, we really do have the power to shift our sense of body and being. And the more we take that on as a path to growth, the better alignment we're going to have in our lives. So Mary says, that's amazing. I'm happy you could connect and help with your inner self. I grew up with an invalid mother, so I'm sure there's something I need to deal with. Well, so Mary, you're following in your mom's footsteps in a way. It sounds like that's a really good place to look to unpack things. So that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it is a deep, deep pleasure and privilege to share these morning musings on what it is to be human. So until next time, so much love to you.